Good afternoon. I would like to thank everyone for attending this afternoon's press conference. I want to start by thanking both the citizens of Lebanon and the media for their patience during this tragic homicide and the investigation that followed. I'm joined up here today by Lebanon Police Chief Tyson Wormuth, Public Information Officer Justin Fuston, Detective Captain Tony Bells, Detective Amy Dickerson, Detective Jeff Nelson, and Boone County Prosecutor Todd Meyer. You will hear from Boone County Prosecutor Todd Meyer shortly. Once Prosecutor Meyer has completed his remarks, we will then take a few questions. Please keep in mind this is an ongoing investigation, and details outside of what have been outlined in the probable cause affidavit will not be available. As we conclude today's press conference, Officer Fuston will read a statement that has been prepared by the Foster family. I'll now turn this over to Prosecutor Meyer.
Thank you, Officer Phelps. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Todd Meyer, the Boone County Prosecutor. Thank you all for being here for this media release on the events that occurred on June 18th here in Lebanon. First, I want to let the Foster family know that all of us standing here, this community at large, our thoughts and prayers are with that family for a fast and speedy healing process. This case is everybody's worst nightmare, right? Being awakened in your home with a stranger armed with a deadly weapon. I want to thank the Lebanon Police Department, all the Boone County police agencies that worked this case to bring it to a swift resolution. I also want to thank the Indiana State Police Laboratory for working diligently around the clock for the past couple of days and bringing to us the DNA evidence that is contained within the probable cause affidavit that links Zachary Wright to the murder of Max Foster. Now, Tony, can you get me one of those charging informations? I've handed out to everyone a copy of the affidavit for probable cause that Detective Bales put together and a copy of the charging information. My office today filed charges not too long ago with the Boone County Clerk, and the case has been filed and assigned to the Boone County Superior Court 1. That is the court that Judge Kincaid presides over. And I suspect there will be, although it has not been announced, an initial hearing and arraignment tomorrow, either late morning or early afternoon in Boone Superior Court 1. I'd like to outline the charges that have been filed against Zachariah Brian Wright. His date of birth is July 15, 1997. Count 1 is the murder count for him knowingly or intentionally murdering Max Foster in Mr. Foster's home here in Lebanon. Count 2 is the attempted murder of Sonia Foster. And as the probable cause affidavit outlines, Mr. Wright attempted to murder Sonia by attempting to light her on fire. Count 3 is a burglary count and count 4 is also a burglary count for invading the Foster's home. Count 5 is an attempted rape count, and as the probable cause affidavit outlines, this count is based on evidence that Zachariah Wright attempted to rape Sonia Foster in her home. Count 6 is an aggravated battery for the serious bodily injury that was done against Sonia Foster that resulted in a severe laceration to her face during the struggle that ensued inside the home. Count 7 is a criminal confinement of Sonia Foster by the defendant, where he attempted to confine her in her home and rape her. Count 8 is the sexual battery against Sonia Foster. Count 9 is the attempted arson that I've alluded to, where the defendant chased Miss Foster from her home as she attempted to flee for her own safety, where he was able to apprehend her in the neighbor's yard and attempted to light her on fire. Count 10 is the thefts. Counts 11, 12, 13 are all theft counts related to the knives that he stole in the Foster home that the probable cause affidavit outlines, and we allege that he used to murder and to injure Max and Sonia Foster. As the probable cause affidavit outlines, this criminal episode really began when the defendant left work and headed back to the home that he was staying in, and along the way started to engage in criminal activity by breaking into another home in the Pearl Street area, where he stole a pickaxe and 2 vests. He then broke into a vehicle in the Pearl Street area, where he stole some items from within that car. Many of these items, as the probable cause affidavit outlines, end up in his possession, or were either recovered at the crime scene or at the home in which Zachariah Wright was staying in. He then stole a bicycle from the Pearl Street address and rode that bicycle over to the Dick Street area, where he then committed these burglaries and committed murder. In addition to those crimes, probable cause affidavit outlines that Zachariah Wright also attempted to break into another residence in the Pearl Street area, and for whatever reason did not accomplish that burglary. We've also charged Zachariah Wright with obstruction of justice and for false informing. As the probable cause affidavit outlines, he was seen by several witnesses on the morning of June the 18th walking the streets of Lebanon shirtless and without shoes on. We recovered a pair of work boots from the hot pond here in Lebanon that we have linked to Zachariah Wright through his employer as boots that he would have taken from his employer's place of business. Many items were submitted to the Indiana State Police Laboratory that were recovered during a search of the residence where the defendant was staying and from the crime scene. And as I previously remarked, law enforcement were very grateful to the people at the laboratory that worked very diligently, set aside other work that needed to be done in order to get to the bottom of this case swiftly. And in particular, the PC affidavit references that a pair of jeans that were discovered at the residence where Zachariah Wright was living was heavily soiled in what we believe to be grease and grime that would be consistent with his manner of work. But it was also covered in red stains that presumptively tested positive by the lab for blood. And within those stained areas, the laboratory was able to identify the DNA of both Sonia Foster and Max Foster. That outlines the case, 23 count charging information. In the weeks and the months to come, my office will be further reviewing the case and working with law enforcement as we begin to get a better handle on who the defendant is, and I intend to present the case to the Indiana Prosecuting Attorney Council's Capital Litigation Committee for review and assessment of whether or not the state will seek the death penalty as a sentence in this case. As I said, this is everybody's worst nightmare, and it ended in a horrific crime. And that being said, my office is going to be reviewing whether or not the state will seek a death penalty as a sentence in this case. Thank you. That's all the prepared remarks that I have. We'll take a few questions, and then I'll turn it back over to Officer Phelps.
Do you believe that Zachariah Wright, sir, was motivated by either drugs or alcohol that day?
I can't speak to that right now. We don't have any evidence of that, although it's something that we'll clearly be reviewing.
You mentioned you took was it a pickaxe that you said you took from a different Was that used at all as a weapon, or is it just the knives that he found inside the home?
As the affidavit sets out, the evidence of the pickaxe was taken from the garage at the Pearl Street home, and that home was then, a window was broken out of that home with what we believe was the pickaxe.
Do you believe that Wright was known to the Fosters?
We don't have any reason to believe that.
Do you believe he had staked out their house, or?
No, we believe that this was a complete random act of violence.
There was talk in the beginning too, when they were in the process of trying to track him down, that he had been bragging about this or talking about what he had done to either his landlord or somebody that lived at the home where he ended up being arrested. Is there any more information about that that you can release?
As the affidavit refers, he did make several statements to the people that were also in that home where he was staying. I don't know if I would categorize it as bragging or not, but he did make some statements to them.
Is there a possibility anyone else will be charged in connection with any of this?
This remains an ongoing investigation, of course, but the person that we charged with these crimes here with today, we believe is the person who committed these acts, and there is no evidence to indicate that there was anybody who assisted in these crimes.
Did the boots contain blood evidence, also DNA evidence, or linking them?
We don't have the results of that back yet. They have been submitted to the State Police Lab, and we do believe that we will find evidence of value in this case contained within them.
But ISP was able to get the DNA evidence that was found inside the home that matched him?
The jeans that were found in the room where Zachariah Wright was staying contained staining that was consistent with his job as an auto mechanic type person. And those jeans also contained red stained areas on them that tested positive for the presence of blood. And it's from those staining marks where the DNA that matches Sonia Foster and Max Foster was contained.
Before, they had mentioned that the door had been left unlocked to the Foster's home. Is that still believed to be the case?
I don't know if that is believed to be the case or not. As the probable cause affidavit outlines, when the investigators responded to the scene, they found a door ajar.
But the fact that Sonia was able to give you so much information to the police, and then they passed it on to you, that was a huge role in catching this guy in this little amount of time.
That and members of the community doing the right thing and coming forward with information that they believed might be helpful in this investigation. And we can't stress that enough. It's so incredibly important for people, no matter what, no matter how unrelated you think it might be, if you think you have information that could be helpful to a crime investigation, please reach out to the police, provide that information to them so that they're able to do their job.
And just, what can you say about just the nature of this crime and how it was random and just the violence and terror that was involved in this?
It's horrific. You know, as I stated, and many of us that have been talking and working on the case since it happened, it is everyone's worst nightmare to be awakened in your home by a stranger who's wielding a deadly weapon. And it's that set of facts. The aggravators that make the case eligible for the filing of the death penalty request would be that he committed this murder while committing the crime of burglary, while committing the crime of arson, while committing the crime of rape, attempted rape and attempted arson, and while committing murder while being on probation for having been convicted of a felony. So the fact that there are 4 aggravators at play, and based on the facts and circumstances of the case itself, the case needs to be reviewed for determination as to whether or not the death penalty should be sought.
Do you have any idea on how long it will take for that determination to be made?
I'd say that process will take months. And obviously, very important decision that needs to be made. And as in the past, I intend to present it to the Capital Litigation Committee at IPAC. And we'll review in detail the case, and there'll be a thorough analysis of it. We'll continue as law enforcement to have discussions about it, and a decision will be made as to what we believe is the right thing to do for this community on behalf of the state of Indiana. You know, crimes that are committed like this are not only committed against the victims, right? But they're committed against all of us as citizens of this state, and they're committed against the peace and dignity of our society. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Prosecutor Meyer. The Foster family has prepared a statement that they would like for us to issue on their behalf. Officer Fuston will be reading their statement to you.
Hello. On June 18, 2017, our family and the entire city of Lebanon was rocked with the news of a home invasion and a vicious attack of Max and Sonia Foster. As a result of one man's senseless actions, Max Foster was taken from us early on Father's Day morning. Sonia was left scarred and without her life partner of almost 50 years. Within hours of the crime, a multi-agency effort resulted in the arrest of Zachariah Wright. A diligent and comprehensive investigation ensued, and we were kept in the loop every step of the way. We are so thankful for the relentless efforts of Detectives Tony Bells, Amy Dickerson, and Jeff Nelson, along with all law enforcement who assisted and brought us to this point. Also, we would like to thank Prosecutor Todd Meyer and his office for their diligence and the comfort they provided to us throughout the week. We take much solace knowing the right person is behind bars and will suffer consequences of his actions. We would also like to thank the entire Lebanon community for the tremendous love and support during this extremely difficult time. As we move forward, we ask for continued peace in our community, prayers, and we respectfully ask for privacy while we continue to cope with the loss of Max. Respectfully, the Foster family.
Thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the officers of the Lebanon Police Department, the Boone County Sheriff's Office, the Whitestown Police Department, Zionsville Police Department, Boone County Coroner's Office, Boone County Prosecutor's Office, and the Indiana State Police for their unselfish help and dedication throughout this investigation. It is due to the dedication and work of these agencies, as well as the community's cooperation, that we were able to quickly and efficiently charge a suspect in this horrific tragedy. As you already know, there is a vast multitude of resources and agencies involved in this ongoing investigation. The consistent belief between all agencies is to keep our respective communities safe. Investigators are confident this is a random act of violence and are determined to bring Zachariah Wright to justice. While charges have been filed, all suspects are considered innocent until they've been proven guilty in a court of law. That'll conclude our press conference for today. Thank you.